Everybody, this is Dave Walsh talking to you about how to embrace nonlinearity in your classroom. This video is going to just encompass my presentation at FlipCon 2016. So you got here because you wanted more information, you wanted to rewatch my video because you were at my session, or you missed my session and you just wanted to get an idea of what this whole nonlinearity thing was all about. Or maybe, lastly, you were surfing my YouTube channel and you found this video and you wanted to know all about it too. Whatever the case, thank you for coming here, and let's talk a little bit about embracing nonlinearity. My name is David Walsh. I teach high school chemistry at a little school outside of Philadelphia called Collingswood High School. And please follow me on Twitter. I'm at Col's Physistry. That's a funny kind of triple portmanteau. I teach at Collingswood, which we call Col's Physistry because I teach physics and chemistry. And I have a website, flippinged.net. So feel free to follow me along there. The way that I started off my session, or I will start off my session, is by going to today's meet and having a little discussion or a little ideas about how technology has changed education. You can go here. This link should be still active. You can add to the discussion. You can see what other people have written. You can definitely talk a little bit about. You can see, maybe this will inspire you to see what other people are thinking about in technology. But I think that my view is that really technology has fundamentally changed education. There's no doubt about it that traditional education works. It's one of those things that completely, like, if it didn't work, the educational system in the United States would be really tough. If lecturing didn't work, higher ed would be in all sorts of trouble. But if we want to make education really powerful for students, we have to embrace technology and use it. And so that's for a whole different discussion to people who don't believe that technology has fundamentally changed education. But I assume if you're flipping your classroom, there's at least a lot of that you must believe. But let's get into this whole idea of nonlinearity. So when I first started flipping, I just really got into it, probably like a lot of you did. I wanted to try it out. I thought it may be an easier way to do it. And it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling from there. But about a year ago, I said, there's got to be something more. I said, it can't just stop here with online lesson creation, content online, curating a library of material for students to go through, the flip mastery model, whatever. I've tried to rack my brain about what am I doing that's traditional as opposed to innovative. And I said, oh, look at Google. If you look at Google, Google is a long list of just search results. So just that screen capture, just so you know, I searched chemistry, and this is what it came up with. There's more at the top and the bottom. There's ads. What Google does is it prioritizes based on their own proprietary algorithm, whatever it is that they do. They put the search results in a list, and then they feed it to the user. Now, if I'm a student, I'm just going to click the first couple of links to find out what chemistry is, and if it doesn't do anything, whatever, I'm going to modify my search results. Okay, no big deal, but now let's take that and put that in a classroom. Or even in a flip class. I know that in a classroom, a teacher's only one person, and that teacher has to present things in an order. Here's the first lesson, here's the second lesson, here's the third lesson, because as just one person, you can't present multiple lessons at one time. So you're forced to go through things in an order that has a certain priority kind of built in, even if it's not explicit. It's implied because you're doing the thing that is first. And trust me, I've been teaching long enough to know that, you run out of time, you cut things off. If you plan to spend a week on something, you cut off the last lesson and, then it's over. So you intentionally prioritize when you're teaching in a traditional classroom. But in a flipped classroom, it's all there. Your content is all in front of the students or is available to the students. And so instead of doing something linearly, why not put it in a mind map? And so this, I was asking for ideas at an ed camp that I attended, and somebody came up with the idea, somebody asked, have you ever seen Instagrok? And I said, no. And so what I did, it's a search tool similar to Google. Well, not similar to Google. It's only similar in that they're both search tools. But I searched chemistry in Instagrok, and you notice here's chemistry in the middle, and then here's a whole bunch of secondary search terms that you can click and find out about. Now, if I were actually on Instagrok, you could hover over this and see what's going on here. Actually, you know what I'll do is I will go to Instagrok and I will show you what it looks like. Okay? Because Instagrok really spawned the idea that, hey, things don't always have to be in a line, and I like to see the connection. If there's a connection to some other big idea, I think that that's important. And so, of course, for some reason, my computer just froze, which is always normal, right? Technology is always a wonderful thing. Oh, okay, let's see. There it goes. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put chemistry in here because I teach chemistry. I'm going to grok it. And here's that mind map. Now I hover over this. It gives me things about chemistry, key facts. It gives me websites and videos and images there. But let's say I don't want to look at chemistry, but I want to look at scientists. What I can do is then search that, and now there's a whole bunch of things there. And so now, again, I can go through and I can see key facts, videos, images, whatever it is. And then that mind map stays right here. I can see videos, I can see pictures. So the idea is that you can see where you started at chemistry here in the middle. And once you're there, you can see the connections that your search leads you to. And I think that that is a very, very powerful tool. Okay, so seeing those connections between, let me get a little closer to my mic here. Seeing those connections, I think, is very important for students because they want to know why they're learning something. And mind maps really help you see those connections and take your own content out of the realm of the linear, the prioritized list, even if it's, like I said, even if it's implicit, not explicit, and it puts it into a different realm. And we don't have to do things linearly. So here's what ended up happening. Here's kind of my philosophy. I was like, okay, here in front of me, in front of you, is my curriculum. I wrote this curriculum. This is what we ended up having to do in my district. And we use UBD, Understanding by Design, or Universal Backwards Design, whatever it is. And so we have to come up with enduring understandings and essential questions and all this stuff, knowledge, skills. And so I wrote this. This is actually mine for honors chemistry. And so I was saying, okay, I have this whole unit 1 thing for honors chemistry. I have all the material. I have all the assignments that I want them to do. how can I present this in a more interesting, nonlinear way? And so I kind of tried to start over. So I came across hyperdocs. Now, hyperdocs is kind of an interesting thing where kids can get a PowerPoint, a Google Slides presentation or a Google Doc, and in the Google Doc there are links to go to different websites and see different things. Lisa Highfill, it's her idea. She was kind of the pioneer of hyperdocs, and I became kind of familiar with hyperdocs. And I said, why not combine the idea of Instagrok with the idea of hyperdocs? And so what I came up with was something like this. Google Drawings is part of the Google Apps for Education suite that everybody has access to. It's not hidden or doesn't cost anything, of course, like Google. It's always free. And so what I did is I put in the center the task. I said, this is what I want students to do. This is what I want them to be able to do. And in order to be able to do it, they have to do section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, it doesn't matter where I put them. I kind of have different shapes here for different reasons, because I think that these 3 are kind of related and these 2 are kind of related, but they are not connected. You don't need to be able to do unit conversions in order to understand significant figures. So these 2 don't have to be presented in a certain order, but I'll be diggity danged if I went through and I said, hey, you know what? We're going to learn unit conversions, and I would teach on unit conversions for a couple of days, and then we would do sig figs for a day. And then last, I would do accuracy and precision. And so what I was doing was coming up with this artificial hierarchy that was, hey, unit conversions are more important. In my opinion, maybe they are. But does that mean they have to be in everybody's opinion? No. I bet you if I polled the audience for all the non-science and math teachers right now who can convert, centimeters to miles, it doesn't even matter, because that doesn't. So anyways, that's philosophy for a different discussion. But the idea is that this was kind of my section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. People don't need to know how to classify matter in order to understand what a chemical and physical change is. So students can, but the bigger point is students can go and they can see that all of these, in order to do this performance task, they better be able to do some unit conversions and report their answers with significant figures and discuss accuracy and precision and talk about the types of changes in order to separate the mixture and be able to classify the matter in order to come up with the answer here. They can see the relationship between all 5 of these sections to the overall goal. Now, if you're in a flip mastery model, it doesn't matter what they do first. They can go and do this first. Sorry. Whoop. They can do this first, and then this, and then this. Or they could start here, and then go here, and then back up here. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Or if you're not in a flip mastery, if you're just in a flip class, just have them go in an order around and then say, hey, okay, but the point is that you can even have them figure out their own order through the whole thing. But all of these are independent skills that feed onto the overall unit goal. And so all of that took the place of this for me. Okay? And then what they can do is click on each of these things. And once they click on it, that can take them to the lesson or the video or the assignment or all of those things, depending on what tool you're using in order to do that. And then they can go there. So that's all of Unit 1 in chemistry. Almost. I had to cut some stuff off because of space, and I'm modifying it and stuff like that. But you get the idea. Now I teach this other class, Astronomy, where the whole class, semester long, 20 weeks, and the students have to develop a mission plan to go explore some other target in our solar system. So we spend all 20 weeks doing this project and talking about the solar system and how cool the solar system is. Super cool, by the way. But they have distinct parts of the project that they have to do. They have to pick a place to go. They have to talk about how they're going to get there. They're going to talk about what they're going to do to sustain themselves. What they're going to, once they get there, they're going to have to talk about how to get back to the Earth. And most importantly, they're going to have to discuss the science that has occurred or that they're trying to accomplish on those planets. Now, this is a perfect example of, if I were just doing this traditionally, I would start with the innermost planet, Mercury, or the most common planet to go visit, Mars, and I would come up with some sort of prioritized list, kind of implicitly. I'd say Mercury, Venus, the Moon, Mars, whatever, and I would go in order because I'm just one person. But now that I flipped and all my lessons are online, all my videos are online, they can do this in any order that they want. So each one of these things has its own, and you can see that they're clickable links. Each one of these has their own lesson. They can go through and they do an assignment based on that. And then they relate it to their overall goal for their project, which is, where are you going to explore? And so this takes it out of the realm of me having to go in some sort of order, and they can do it in any order they want. Or, again, if you want to kind of synchronous, you're doing synchronous flipping where everybody's kind of on the same page all at once, you could start with one and then say, hey guys, tomorrow, where do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about Jupiter? You want to talk about, and you can vote and the kids can choose. So it gives them the choice to go wherever they want. I think that this is a powerful way to show connection to their overall learning goal, which we all have carefully tried to figure out, but which a lot of times gets lost in the traditional organization and content delivery that a traditional classroom has to offer. So I hope that kind of explains some of the things that we're going to do. There's going to be a whole how-to section in my session, and there's going to be how-to videos that I'm going to put up on how to do some of this stuff in Google Drawings, and there's also going to be a couple other things. So I appreciate you paying attention, and have a great time, and thanks for watching.